Greg, listening to WHMP in Seattle. Hey, Greg, what's up?
Oh, now let me take your speakerphone, Thom.
Thank you, sir.
I grew up in the 1969 in California, and I was there when, the people passed the tax thing and stopped giving money to the inner city school. When I was 15 years old in 1969, we had everything. Your mother could drop you off at the park, and you can be there all day while she went to work, and somebody would watch over you guys, play games, sprinkler system, all that type of stuff. When Ronald Reagan came along with that John Burke Society, I didn't really know anything about this. I'm a junior high school kid. When the John Burke Society and Ronald Reagan got together, that's when everything changed. By 1969, 70, all of my little buddies who was like 13, 14 was in juvenile because, they had done something bad. They was all out back on the streets all over again. And this is how this Crip and this blood thing got started. And it's just so sad to see people are still, they don't understand it's a game. And if you don't wake up and get yourself educated, you will be left behind. Now, my high school, I went to high school in Compton, California. It was like it was equal 500 whites, 500 Mexicans, 200 Asian, 500 blacks. Your school had to be accredited every year to get money for the next year. Mm-hmm. There was one year where we had such a high accredited achievement because everybody was studying and doing what they had to do. It was like 3.2 or something. Mm-hmm. They didn't believe it. They tried to stop from giving us the money for our high school because they couldn't believe that those minority students did such a great job. And it was incredible, man. Like, I'm 62. I just retired. I bet you over half my class who graduated with me, blacks and Mexicans, they all got good jobs and good retirements right now. They all live in most of them live in California. I'm in Seattle, but
yeah, because that was before.
I remember when it hit.
Yeah, let me toss one other thing into this toxic soup here that we're talking about, Greg. Yeah, you got Reagan as a governor. I don't frankly know off the top of my head which year he became governor, but I think it was in the late 60s, wasn't it? As I recall.
68 or something like that.
Yeah, around 68 to 70. But also what happened in 68 is we got Richard Nixon as president. And Richard Nixon, his number 2 guy, John Ehrlichman, just 8 months ago told The Nation magazine, or maybe they found an old interview with him, but it just got, it finally came out 8 months ago, where he said, and I'm paraphrasing this from memory, but I think that this is almost word for word, he said, back in the Nixon administration in the late 60s, we had 2 enemies. We had African Americans and we had the anti-war hippies. Yep. And you couldn't make it illegal to be a hippie and you couldn't make it illegal to be black. So what we did was we declared a war on drugs and we put insanely heavy penalties on marijuana and heroin. And then we used those drugs in those communities to disrupt the politics in those communities, to go after their leaders and their people and destroy those communities. And then he wrapped the interview up by saying, did we know we were lying about the drugs? Yes, we did. So not only is that when Nixon declared the war on drugs and that really went on steroids, but also you add to that Reagan's just general hatred of public education. He ended free college in California. I spent the summer in 1968 in San Francisco. I remember it. And so between Reagan and Nixon, it's like, this was the beginning of the Republican destruction of the middle class of America.
Yeah, but I was a big-time athlete between 68 and 72. I used to go around to the different high schools to compete. I saw the difference. At the schools in suburbs, the chemistry classes, they had real burns. They would even let our burns work in our chemistry class because they didn't want nobody to start a fire, file a lawsuit or whatever, So it's just all a game. It's just so sad, man, that my kids now, 36 and 38, they all doctors and doing good. Some people's kids aren't doing as well, and I just feel so sad that they got caught up in the game and didn't understand how to play it. So that's all I have to say, Thom.
Yeah. You said it very well, Greg. You said it very well. Thank you.
Sir, okay.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks for sharing your experience and your story. This is real. I mean, we talk about policy in the abstract, like, oh, gee, maybe we should do this or that, with regard to public policy. How do we fund our schools? How do we fund our police departments? How do we fund our voting? But it goes beyond policy. It actually impacts people's lives in a really big way. And you know, I just don't think that we talk about that enough or take it seriously enough, frankly. So back to my original point, I think that every state should look at the best schools in their states and say we're going to establish that as the funding level for every school, and then, you know, we can add things for special needs and police and voting.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit thomhartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Voting is funded at the county level, so poor counties have, you know, long lines. The same thing with schools, same thing with police. Let's fix that. Let's standardize the funding.